Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to 61 Liberator, the warrior healing soul introduced in Rift 2.7. Liberator is primarily a raid healer, but can also fill the tank healing role in expert dungeons, as well as a backup healer role in raids in the event a tank healer dies. In this guide I'm going to show you where to spend your points, which masteries to select, as well as how to play the Liberator soul, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. Looking at the soul tree breakdown, you'll see we do the full 61 points in Liberator. That's because there's a couple abilities at the bottom of the tree that as an AoE healer you'll definitely want to have. Moving over to the secondary tree, we take 10 in Paladin. That is specifically to pick up a good defense, which increases damage of abilities that generate attack points and healing done by 10%, and also to put 5 more in Vengeful Wrath for increase of your attack power and weapon damage by 10%. Now it's a good rule of thumb that anytime you can pick up passives that increase your attack power and weapon damage, you definitely want to pick those up, which is why we go 10 in Paladin and 5 in Void Knight. So moving over to the third soul, of course Void Knight here, we have 5 in Energy Retention. This increases your attack power and weapon damage by an additional 10%. As a bonus for going into Void Knight, we also pick up Void, which reduces the damage taken by 3%, and we also pick up Void Propulsion, which is a 15-meter knockback on a 15-second cooldown. Moving over to the right, we have level 61. We take Resonating Strikes for our masteries here. This one will allow you to get a 3% max shield, health shield every 6 seconds. Pretty standard. Moving over to 62, we take Physiology Proficiency. This increases your healing done and absorption granted by 5%. Moving up to 63, we take Relentless. This takes your 50% res, or 50% health return res rather, to 100% health return res, as well as reducing the damage taken on the tank, which is probably who you're resing, by 30% for 5 seconds. Moving up to 64, we have Precision Strikes. This one makes your healing over time abilities last 6 seconds longer. So typically they'll last for 15 seconds. With this mastery, they'll last for 21 seconds. Moving up to 65, we have Power Variation. This is going to be a very powerful ability. If you've watched my guides before, you know that I typically recommend this. This is a very good tank saver, which is why I selected here. So that's it for the soul points and the masteries, guys. Let's go ahead and talk about the macros really quick. So looking at the macro system here, you'll see we have quite a few. Starting off, we have the spam macro. You'll see that I do use shift modifiers. As with all my videos, I have quite a few shift modifiers that I like to use. So the first thing that's going to happen with this, for those of you who aren't familiar with shift modifiers, is if I hit my 1 key, which is where this macro is located, it will start at this line here and cast Fast Relief. If I'm moving, which by the way, Fast Relief is going to be your cast time spammer, which is right here, 1.5 second cast time. If I'm moving, instead it will cast First Aid, which is going to be your instant cast healing spell or ability. Now if I hold shift down and I hit the same key, so I'm holding shift and I hit 1, it'll first fire off Extraordinary Care, which is a shield with a healing over time component, a big shield with a big healing over time component. And then if I keep holding shift and hit 1 again, it'll fire off Prolonged Recovery. Now Prolonged Recovery is a single target healing over time ability that stacks up to 3 times. So that's how you can apply those with just having 1 key. And as you'll notice in my text box here, the large S there denotes that there's an ability on this key that you can cast by holding shift, and this tells you what ability it'll give you. So that's just kind of my little personal notes, and if I'm first learning a build or something, or if I have a lot of different abilities to keep track of, I'll make myself little notes that look like that. So moving on down to the second key here, we have another shift modifier to cast Quick Remedy. Quick Remedy is a large heal with a healing over time component after it, and as an added bonus, it will also give you 3 attack points. So this is a pretty versatile ability on a very short cooldown, 15 seconds. Moving on down, we have Cast It Mouse over Dichotomy of Pain and Cast It Mouse over First Aid. Dichotomy of Pain is going to be your finisher, which by the way also has a healing over time component. And of course First Aid is your instant spammer. This is going to be at the bottom of almost all your macros to make sure that you're able to cast at least something if you have to move. So moving on down, we have the Deliverance macro. This is your finisher, your AoE Finisher macro. Group Assistance is just there just in case you cast Deliverance, don't have enough attack points to cast it again, and you're on the move. You can hit Group Assistance. Moving on down, we have the Liberation treatment here. This is your single target healing over time. However, as an added bonus, with the full 61 points in Liberator, we pick up a passive skill that allows Liberation treatment to affect 3 other party or raid members. So this can be a pretty effective AoE heal, particularly in expert dungeons. Moving on down, we got the standard battle res macro here. This is just so you can use the mouse over UI. If you're not familiar with mouse over UI, what it will do is allow you to hover your cursor over that person's raid frame in your group or raid and hit the 6 key, which is where this BREZ is, and it will battle res that person without you ever having to target them. Pretty useful stuff. So moving up to the top, we got the single target cleanse macro. This one right here is pretty important as well because there's a lot of mechanics where you only have to cleanse 1 person or multiple stacks of 1 person. So what this guy will do is, and when you hit it, it will look in your group raid frames and it'll say, okay, which one of these guys has one? Let's say that group number 15 or person number 15 in your raid has it. When you match this ability, it will remove stacks from that person. If you notice, it is grayed out right now. That is because there is no one currently that I can cast this on to remove a curse, poison, or disease. When there is one person or a person that has something I can cleanse on it, this will ungray out and be come together with light, just like these guys. So moving on down, we have the Ameliorate Redress macro. And typically when I use Ameliorate, I will use it with Redress, simply because with Redress, it will buff all party raid members, reducing damage taken by 7% and increase healing received by 7%. Whereas with Ameliorate, you pick up a 6% reduction in incoming damage as well, and those stack with Redress. So together you get a 13% reduction in damage and a 7% increase to heals by using these two together. Now Redress is on a minute cooldown and Ameliorate is on a 15-second cooldown, so you can only do that 1 out of 4 times when you're casting Ameliorate if you are casting on cooldown, which typically you won't have to because your group assistance and deliverance spam should be enough generally. Moving on down, we have the DPS abilities here. These are just so that I can label what they do. We have the single target Persecute here, we have the area of effect Mass Suppression here, and we have the single target finisher Castigate. There is no AoE finisher, unfortunately, so you'll have to use Castigate, or you can save the attack points. It's totally up to you. Now, something to note here really quick, Persecute and Mass Suppression, when they're cast, they will also heal for 20% of your attack power. So if you have 10,000 attack power, they will heal 10 party raid members for 2,000 health each. So you can spam this as a filler to add a little bit of DPS if the raid isn't taking much damage. And then when they do start taking damage, you can swap back over to your group assistance and deliverance type abilities. Moving over to the right, we have a couple different buffs here. I just put these in here so that I can label them once again. We have this guy here I have labeled Piri simply because I usually cast this on the Piri. We'll talk about this more in a minute. We have a couple different tank cooldowns here as well. We'll talk about those in a minute as well. And of course at the bottom here we have the Liberator K-Alert, which just tells me, hey, set my K-Alerts to number 1. So that's it for the macros, guys. Let's go ahead and jump into the action bar and the buffs. So starting with the buffs, coming down here we have Aegis or Aegis of Advocacy. This one makes your healing finishers add a buff on the warrior, reducing damage taken by 3% per stack. Stacks up to 3 times, so this is a 9% reduction in damage. Moving over to the right, we got Void. This reduces damage taken by 3%. This one, coupled with your Aegis of Advocacy, gives you a 12% passive reduction in damage taken. Moving over to the right, we got the 3 buffs here. We have Period, the positive reaction. This distributes 15% of the overhealing the target receives from you to up to 5 other party raid members. So the reason I put this on the Piri is because typically the Piri has a lot of passive shielding that shows up on himself, and he'll also shield himself from time to time, meaning that all of the AoE healing over time abilities that I have running will typically be overhealing for him. So it makes it helps you get the most out of this this buff here. Moving on to the right, we have the 2 tank buffs here. One of them is Continuous Treatment. Cast a buff on a party or raid member every 10 seconds. The target gains an absorption shield that absorbs up to 4,300 damage. That goes on the tank. Adrenaline Overdrive. Cast a buff on a party or raid member. Each time the target is healed by the warrior, the target gains a buff, increasing max health by 1%. Stacks up to 3 times. So this will increase max health by 3%. Typically, it should go on a tank. Liberator K-Alert, of course, is right here. Over to the right, you'll see a couple different abilities here. These are just so I can show you what they are. They don't typically go on my bar. But down at the bottom here, Power Variation goes on my Z key. This is so I have quick access to top up the tank in the event the tank healer dies or something. Moving over to the right, we have Medical Facility. Medical Facility will remove the cast time for Deliverance and Fast Relief, as well as remove the attack point requirement for Deliverance. So right here is Fast Relief, so it's 1.5 second cast now. With Medical Facility up, it'll be instant cast. And Deliverance is here. This one will make it will no longer be a finisher, it will be a builder, and it will not have any cast time. So if you're using Medical Facility, you would use it either with Deliverance or with Fast Relief. When you have this active, you can typically get about 4 casts in before it wears off. Moving over to the right, one more on the EQ, we have Mass Rescue. This adds an Absorb Shield that absorbs for me up to 17.5k, 10 party raid members. Also, a quick note, all these are on a 1-minute cooldown, so these 2 right here, and also Power Variation, so you can use them pretty liberally and they'll be back pretty quick, so that's pretty cool there. Moving over to the right, on the R key, we have the Ameliorate macro. Again, this has Redress and Ameliorate in it. If you decide you don't want to use them together, of course you don't have to. You can just select them separately. That's why they have them both on the bar here. However, typically I will use them together just because combining the 6% from Ameliorate and the 7% from Redress is pretty strong. Moving over, we have the DPS abilities here. We have the single target and the AoE one here, and then of course we have the finisher here. Pretty self-explanatory. Down to the main bar, we have the spam macro here. The second one, we have the finisher macro, the single target finisher. So single target spam, single target finisher. Also with the shift modifiers, keep in mind. So with the shift modifier here, we have a couple of healing over time abilities that are single target. And with the shift modifier here, we have the big heal as well as awarding 3 attack points. Moving over to the 3 key, we have group assistance. This is going to be your main AoE spammer for healing. Moving over to 4, we have Deliverance. This is going to be the AoE Finisher, costs 2 attack points. Moving over to 5, we have Liberation Treatment. This is your single target healing over time. Keep in mind, this also will affect 3 other party raid members with our passive points in the Liberator tree. Number 6, we have the Battle Res. Number 7, we have Mass Casualty Response and also Corrective Measures on 8. These 2 are going to make up a big giant bulk of your AoE healing here, so these are pretty important to have on the bar. Mass Casualty Response stacks up to 3 times, and Corrective Measures is a healing aura that you place on yourself, and you can cast that every 15 seconds on cooldown, costs 3 attack points. Number 9, Standard Break Free. 0 key is going to be Counteract. If you watched my guides before, you know that my middle click is mapped to this 0 key here. So I put important stuff on it like cleanses and interrupts. This is going to be my area of effect cleanse. If I'm in a fight where I need a single target cleanse and don't need an AoE cleanse, I will just go ahead and swap those out really quick so that I have quick access to the cleanse without having to move over to the other side of the bar or the keyboard with my hand. Other than that, though, we also have the Conflict Avoidance here, which is a area of effect stun. You can use it every 30 seconds. Don't typically use this too much, but if you get stuck in open world or something, you can pop this to kind of get away from mobs a little quicker. But that's it for the action bar and the buffs, guys. Let's go ahead and discuss K alerts really quick. There are a few that I use here. So the main 2 you'll see here are Corrective Measure and Mass Casualty Response, and of course you'll see a couple of them that are labeled Focus. So let's go ahead and see what those look like. Right down here we have Corrective Measures. This will just tell you, hey, this is an area of effect healing over time, and it'll give you a timer. Mass Casualty Response is again going to be your AoE healing. This one will also track your stacks because you can have up to 3 stacks. Over to the left we have a couple single target abilities. This is Liberation Treatment, which is your 5 key. We have this one is Extraordinary Care. This one's going to be your shield. Absorbs 50% of damage up to 18k, and it'll also restore almost 5,000 health every 3 seconds for 15 seconds. Over to the left all the way we have the Prolonged Treatment, which is going to be the single target version of Mass Casualty Response. This guy you can put 3 stacks on your tank and it will restore 15,000 health over 21 seconds, stacks 3 times, so it can be a pretty big healing over time. The 2 at the top, these are the 2 that have healing over time components that are part of a finisher or the quick remedy ability. So whenever you use your Dichotomy of Pain finisher, which you can see heals for 25k health, it will also heal for additional healing with the healing over time component. Same thing with quick remedy there. So you'll notice that those are labeled focus at the end there. That is because they're set up so that I can focus the target. My focus target is down here, of course. So that way if I want to switch off and do DPS, I can do so, and I will still be able to track that single target, and I can swap back when I need to refresh. You can also, as an additive, if you're single target healing and an expert, if you want, you can also add focus to your macros to help you out, but I typically would just swap back to the tank and refresh stuff as needed. Makes it a little easier. So that's it for K alerts, guys. Let's go ahead and talk about how to play Liberator. So the first thing you're going to want to do when you're single target healing is, of course, you're going to want to gather up 3 attack points before you start fighting. The way we do that is we hit our group assistance 3 times. That gives us the 3 attack points. At that point, you're going to want to apply 3 different healing over time abilities to your tank. The first of them, which is going to be your Extraordinary Care, which is going to be on your Shift 1 key here. And then you're going to want to cast 3 stacks of Prolonged Recovery, which is also going to be your Shift 1 key there. After you've applied both of those, you're going to move down to your 5 key, which is going to be Liberation Treatment, which is another single target healing over time ability. However, do note that this also affects 3 other of your party members, which if you're tank healing, typically you're going to be in an expert, so it'll definitely help keep your group and party up. So after you've got those 3 different healing over time abilities up, you can go ahead and start the fight. Once you start the fight, you can hit your 1 key, which is your Fast Relief spam. This is going to be your spam healing. And then when you have enough attack points and the tank starts taking a lot of damage, you can hit your finisher, Dichotomy of Pain. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. We have our 3 attack points here. We have our target selected. We're going to go ahead and hit Shift 1 for Extraordinary Care. Shift 1 again for 1 stack of Prolonged Recovery. Shift 2, or 1 again. Shift 1 again for the 3rd stack. Now we have 3 stacks of Prolonged Recovery, and we also have Extraordinary Care. We'll go ahead and hit Liberation Treatment. After that, we can go ahead and start spamming our Fast Relief. You can see that we're healing for quite a bit just based off of our dots. So now we're going to go ahead and refresh. We want to refresh our Extraordinary Care, so we've done that. We're going to also refresh our Prolonged Recovery there. And we'll go ahead and refresh our Liberation Treatment and then keep on going. So you can see the single target rotation is not too bad. If you start getting if the tank starts taking a whole bunch of damage, something you can do is you can fire off Dichotomy of Pain and then do Shift 2 and then hit 2 again. That's a Dichotomy of Pain followed by a Quick Remedy followed by a Dichotomy of Pain, so it's quite a bit of burst healing there. Now if you decide that you start getting a little better with the spec and you want to try and maintain all of your healing over time abilities, then you can maintain those 3 that we talked about. So we'll go ahead and use Quick Remedy to get our 3 attack points back. So we'll go ahead and do Shift 1 for Extraordinary Care, Shift 1 3 more times for 3 stacks of Prolonged Recovery, Liberation Treatment, and then we can go ahead and hit our Group Assistance 3 times. After that, you can hit Mass Casualty Response 3 times. We'll go ahead and do our Shift 2 again and then hit our 8, and now you have all of your abilities up. So now we can go ahead and keep spamming our Group Assistance. We'll refresh that and refresh our Dichotomy. And you see you can keep going with it, and if you can maintain all of your healing over time, you'll be doing a significant amount of healing over time, at which point you can continue to use your 1 spam for single target and then your 2 for finisher. So that's about it, guys, for single target. Let's go ahead and jump in and talk about the AoE healing. So the first thing you're going to want to do when you're AoE healing is get 3 attack points before the fight. We've already done that with spamming Group Assistance 3 times. And then you're going to want to fire off 3 Mass Casualty Responses to get 3 stacks. Once you've done that, you're going to hit Shift 2 for Quick Remedy to give you 3 attack points, and then you're going to fire off Corrective Measures. These 2 abilities right here are going to make up the bulk of your AoE healing, so you want to make sure that you get these up and keep them up. If you don't want to use Quick Remedy to put these guys pretty close to the same cooldown timer, you don't have to. That's just something that I do because I like to have these guys pretty close as far as cooldowns are concerned. So now that once you have these 2 guys up, you can move into 2 different ways. You can do your DPS rotation here, or you can do your Group Assistance Deliverance spam. Now with your Group Assistance Deliverance spam, this is obviously going to have a much higher healing output because Group Assistance will heal for approximately 7,000 health with my gear, and Deliverance will heal for 13k or so, but has a 1.5 second cast time. Now your DPS abilities heal you for 20% of your attack power. So once again, just to recap, if you have 10,000 attack power, that means it'll heal for approximately 2,000 health. This is more than adequate if your raid isn't taking a whole lot of damage for keeping them topped up. However, if they do start taking a little bit more damage, you can swap off of your DPS stuff here and move back down into your Group Assistance and Deliverance spam to kind of gauge the situation. So that's the 2 ways that you can kind of go into your spam. Okay, so if you start taking some medium burst damage, you can fire off your R key here, your Ameliorate and Redress. Now Redress will reduce the incoming damage by 7% and increase the healing by 7%. And Ameliorate, while it's being channeled, also reduces the damage taken by an additional 6% for a total of 13% damage reduced, 7% healing increase, as well as being an AoE channeled heal. So right there, that's a pretty powerful for doing medium burst. The healing component of Ameliorate is it's pretty strong, but it's not as strong as say Medical Facility and Deliverance. So that's why I say it's best for medium burst. Now, if your raid starts taking a whole lot of damage, say for instance somebody misses 2 or 3 stacks of Brutal Swell on Fenric, then you can use your Medical Facility. Once you pop Medical Facility, you will be able to spam your Deliverance 4 times before it wears off. So what Medical Facility will do for you is it removes the cast time requirement, so instead of being 1.5 seconds, it'll be instant cast. And it also removes the attack point requirement. So right now it requires 2 attack points. If you hit Medical Facility, it will require no attack points. It'll be similar to a builder. So you can use this, of course, to keep a raid alive during that phase. So this, coupled with, of course, your Mass Casualty Response and Corrective Measures, is some serious burst AoE healing. So that's another thing you can do. Typically, if you're using Medical Facility, you don't want to use Mass Rescue in conjunction because you don't want to have all your cooldowns down at once. You want to try and save them and stagger them so that you have something available to help you handle certain situations. So that's why I typically try and put these guys opposite of each other. Like if I use this Medical Facility, I'll try and make sure I save my Mass Rescue for at least another 30 seconds just to make sure that they're staggered so I have something available in case I need it. So that's about it for the AoE healing rotation, guys. Simply keeping up your Mass Casualty Response 3 stacks, keeping up Corrective Measures, and using either your Group Assistance Deliverance spam or your DPS rotation depending on how much damage your raid is taking. If you get into trouble and you have some medium burst damage, using your Ameliorate macro here. And if you run into some problems where you're taking some heavy burst damage, then you can use either Medical Facility and Deliverance, or you can pop the Shield and begin still hitting your Group Assistance or Ameliorate. There's all kinds of different combinations that you can use. It's a very adaptive playstyle. You can also, if you are getting really good at Liberator and you're very good at multitasking, you can also put up your single target healing over times on the tank if you prefer. You can also kind of watch the tank's health if you want and pop your power variation on him if the time comes where you need to help save the tank. But that's it for the AoE healing rotation, guys. It's relatively simple, and with Liberator, AoE healing is really powerful. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, I have a new Facebook page, which is facebook.com/chamberdown. Go ahead and like that if you'd like to receive updates on what builds I'm working on and when they're coming out. And other than that, guys, I will see you guys next time.